So Geekom has here, I believe, the first Raptor 8-core i9-13900 mini PC. This is called the Mini IT13. So with that chipset, it has 14 cores, 20 threads, Iris Xe graphics with the 96 executional units, and this configuration they sent out to me in exchange for this review does have 32 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, so not DDR5, which the chipset does support, 2 terabyte SSD. It's got 2 USB 4.0 Type-C ports on it as well, and you've got room inside for a SATA 3 SSD M.2 and a 2.5-inch SATA SSD. It also comes with Wi-Fi 6E and is running Windows 11 Pro. Along with the IT13, you're going to find a VESA mounting bracket. There are some screws there for that bracket, but also for a SATA 2.5-inch drive that you can fit inside it. Power cable, HDMI cable, and the power supply. This is 120 watts, and there's also this, which is a guide on the IT13. So this is a mini PC that's packing a lot of power considering the size of it. So it's a 4x4 chassis they're using. Up the front here, we've got our power on, status LED, 3.5mm headphone jack, 2 Type A USB 3.2s. These are Gen 2, so that's the full 10 gigabits per second out of those. And then on the side here, there is a Kensington lock slot on the other, which is our left-hand side. They even have a full-size SD card reader slot, which is great to see on a unit like this. Looking at the back, you'll see this is the exit vent. We have 2 of our USB 4.0s. Now, this does support display out. This is 8K that it can do, and it's the 40 gigabits out of both of those. So yes, you can hook up an external GPU. So you could use like a Thunderbolt enclosure. We have 2 HDMIs. These are HDMI 2.0s. So you can run 4 displays, 2 of them being 8K, the other 2 being 4K. Got Type A USB 2 and another 3.2 Gen 2 port right there, and 2.5 gigabit LAN, and finally the power in. The lid is plastic, that's for the wireless antenna reception, and the build around the outside of it, this is plastic too, and the vents there has just a metal mesh. Now the bottom of it, you'll see we've got our screws there, well the mounts for the VESA mounting bracket, and these are the 4 points there for a 2.5-inch drive that you can fit to the base of this. Now to gain access to the internals, you need to unscrew these 4 screws here, which I will do now. Now for expandability for storage, we've got the 2.5-inch drive that can be slotted into here. We have a 2242 M.2 SATA drive can also be installed here, and then you can upgrade the PCIe 4.0 if 1 gigabyte is not enough for you, which I have with this configuration, and then 32 gigabytes of RAM. We can change that and upgrade to 64. Now great to see they have used a heatsink here, and we've got a thermal pad, so it's going to be transferring the heat onto it to stop that drive from throttling, because they do get rather hot. And if you lift this off, remove the SSD, you'll see there we do have our Wi-Fi card, and this is an AX211, so yes, it is Wi-Fi 6E. And if I just flip it around here without damaging that ribbon cable, I pulled the top plastic lid off, so that you can just pull it straight off once you have, no, you don't even need to unscrew it from the bottom. It just clips in. You can see here the 2 wireless antennas located here, and the fan just below there that's got to cool a 45 watt part. So thermals will be interesting with such a powerful small mini PC. The brand of SSD they have gone with is Lexar, and the RAM is also Lexar 2. So this is DDR4 3200. So DDR5 would have been a lot faster, even at 4,800 megahertz, and aid to Iris Xe graphics, but I'll show you exactly how it does perform in this video. Here we are in the BIOS, and I'm a little disappointed because there's no advanced settings. It's very locked down to us. In fact, there's nothing we can do here. So you can't undervolt, you can't adjust the power limits, and you cannot tweak the allocated RAM to the Iris Xe graphics. So all we have is just standard boot stuff in here. You can see the secure boot, change the boot order, and really that is it. That's it. So they don't want us tinkering or messing around within the BIOS. So here we are now in Windows, and everything is running quick and snappy, no slowdown. Multitasking is very good. So we get here Windows 11 Pro, that's what it does ship with. And the internal storage, I've benchmarked that Alexa 2 terabyte drive. Sorry, before I said 1 terabyte, but no, it's 2 terabytes. And the speeds are, yeah, okay. I mean, PCIe 4.0 can max out around, well, over 7,000 reads and writes sequentials. So it is falling short there. Now, you could upgrade this drive if you wanted to, but for an included drive, it's okay. Most brands do not go with Samsung because they're quite a bit more expensive. Yes, they are faster, but more expensive. So some of the benchmarks I've run here, you will see are a little bit disappointing, and I can explain why that is, because they have set Geekom this to only run at 35 watts. So you see here with our power limit, we can adjust this. This is all you can tweak. You cannot undervolt because that's locked out to us at the BIOS level. And you see that, you could go in here and you could go, okay, I'll set this to 45, but you probably don't want to do that because they've set it to 35 for a reason. It's got 14 cores, 20 threads in a small form factor, so 4x4 case, little fan in there, and I'll get to those thermals soon, but yeah, it's thermal throttles, I can tell you that now. So Geekbench 6 score. It's fine, it's good, it's not bad. It shows that yes, it does have a lot of power, but it should be better. There's two factors. That power limit, the other is the RAM, DDR4 RAM instead of DDR5. And this is where the RAM is going to have a big effect, and even that power limit too, on the integrated graphics performance. So Iris Xe graphics, 96 executional units. However, the graphics score here is falling behind what I would expect out of this. It should be a little bit higher, and this definitely, Time Spy, that should be a lot better. So just over 1600 for the graphics score should be, well, quite a bit more than that if we had the faster RAM and the power limit and then the cooling and it wasn't thermal throttling. Now, the AMD mini PCs I've been reviewing with the 7000 series, for example, the Ryzen 9 7940HS, here with this score, Time Spy, with their scores, they can get over 3000 points. And the graphics does a lot better, over 3000. So this is definitely where it's falling behind because you've got the Radeon 780M, so much better for integrated graphics. It is the best at the moment that you can get. That is quite a disappointment there. So the thermals, I want to point those out to you as well. That they are looking, well, you're not very good because look at this, 98 degrees Celsius. So at thermal throttles, the fan, you hear it quite a bit. And here is a sample now, what it sounds like under full load. This is running Cinebench. And then here is the Cinebench R23 score. So the CPU score, yeah, I mean, for multi-core, that's not bad. Again, it should be a lot better. Now, if we could undervolt, if it wasn't thermal throttling, if it was running at 45 watts, these scores, again, would be a little bit better. So they have certainly handicapped this chipset in this chassis with the cooling it does have, which is a bit of a shame. I think this chip probably needs to be in quite a larger mini PC, something that's more like a small form factor PC with just better cooling that can handle this kind of wattage. Video performance now, playback. So VP9 HEVC, which I'm running right here, this is 4K 60, is not dropping any frames. The Iris Xe graphics and all of those 20 threads helping it, no problems at all. And I'll just go and show you the other clip here. This is 140 megabits per second, 4K, no drop frames. This is running really well, as I would expect with this kind of spec of mini PC. 4K playback now, this is with YouTube through Chrome, and it is using the VP9 codec here, but it's only on HD. So let's just kick this up to 4K, full screen it, see if we have any drop frames. So it dropped just a few, that's normal when it resizes, it's always going to do that, just drop a few. Okay, one additional frame just then. So now and then it may drop a frame, but this performance is excellent for 4K 60 streaming. And now it's something a little bit demanding, which is 4K video editing. This is one of my reviews, and the timeline seems to be quite quick. It's not a complicated edit at all. My edits are very basic, so there's no fancy transitions and very little color grading going on. And this playback with the quarter preview here is not really dropping any frames.
Does bring the battery life down quite a bit.
I'm not really noticing any problems at all. So I'm going to export the whole clip now and see how long it takes. Remember, we do have Intel's QuickSync. Like my other videos, the preset I am using is the YouTube 4K one. Let's hit start here on my timer and then export. I'll skip ahead now and let you know exactly how long it takes. For 12 minutes and 42 seconds of footage. There we go, that is the end result. So 18 minutes and approximately, you could say 27 seconds. Not great at all. Gaming test. Now I'm just going to show you GTA 5 here because the results here are so obvious. You know what I'm going to say, that this is not as it should be, the performance here. Again, because of the power limit, because of the thermal throttling, it's just 51 frames per second. Now, if this was Iris Xe with faster RAM too, DDR5 RAM, and no throttling at the moment, and a 45 watt power limit, this would be about 70, just over 70 frames per second average. Here, just driving around the streets with the same settings that I always use. The 1080p, the normal settings, and the view distance, pedestrian, and all that kind of stuff is in the middle. So, disappointing graphics performance. Even though, yes, okay, it's the old dated Iris Xe, the 96 executional units. This should really be a good 20 frames per second on average faster. So, no point me testing out any other games because it will be exactly the same story. Last but not least, my very quick here Linux test. So this is Linux Manjaro distro with the open source drivers. Everything is working. So that is great. The wireless, Bluetooth, audio all seems to be working there. The USB 4.0 ports also working. So that is great news there if you want to run Linux on this, which by the way does run really fast, really well on it. Recapping now, so we have a very good build quality from this Geekom Mini IT13. It's really good. It reminds me of the Intel NUCs. You've got a SD card slot, you've got USB 4.0 ports, you can add external storage to this that can be really fast thanks to that USB 4.0, and then of course an external GPU if you want to go that route. You could set up a GPU enclosure that's Thunderbolt 3 connected up to this and then really improve upon the huge bottleneck that it does have. And you know what I'm talking about. So that is the Iris Xe graphics, which is disappointing here, more than it should be because of the RAM speeds, the power limit, and the fact we're running DDR4 RAM and not DDR5, which the chipset does support. So if it did have DDR5 and it wasn't power limited and it wasn't throttling, the graphics performance would be a good 30%, 40 even maybe, higher than what we're seeing now. So in its current state, it's a bit hard to recommend to anyone that wants some good graphics performance out of a mini PC without going and getting yourself an external GPU. If you do want the best integrated graphics, it is so far with the Radeon. So you need the 780M or the 680M. So that will be the 6900HX or the 7940HS. Ryzen 9 from AMD would be the best way to go for a mini PC because this one with the integrated graphics performance is disappointing. Sure, it's got a lot of power, but that's the letdown there. And the power limit, I can see why Geekom did that because it's just simply too much power at 45 watts. It would run into even more thermal throttling, which is taking place with this unit, sadly. So there we go. That's the full story of the Geekom IT13 mini PC that is running Windows 11 Pro. Thanks a lot for watching.